So I'm going to recognize myself now as the acting chair on behalf of Chair Ernst for 5 minutes to ask a few questions. I want to start with this, the Small Business Administration. I'll start with you, Mr. Briggs. And by the way, I hold no grudge to the fact that you're a Michigan grad as a senator from Ohio. The idea, I remember asking a college president one time about this university that he was running, and I said, can you tell me what the 3 things that you're really good at? And he told me 5 things at the university, maybe 6 things that the university was really good at. And I said, well, what are some of the things that you're maybe not really good at that maybe you shouldn't be doing anymore? And he couldn't come up with one, right? Well, we do everything really well. Well, no institution is great at everything, and there's some things that they've discovered over time that they have great value in, and then there are things that maybe they say, well, maybe we ought not do that anymore. Maybe there's something better that we could do with those resources. So based on your experience and your knowledge of the agency, reflecting on the nature of that question, what is it that the SBA does that's great, and what might we rethink prioritizing resources around that we could do better?
Senator, thank you for your question, and I do accept that Ohio State won the National Football Championship. Here's what SBA does well and what the focus, if I'm confirmed, is going to be: doing its core mission well, what I call the 3 C's and D: access to capital, contracting, and counseling small businesses to grow. The other important feature of that is the disaster function, and we've been there as we were 5 years ago during the COVID pandemic, but to make sure we're also there now when disaster strikes across the country. Those are things that the agency can and should do well and will be the focus should I be the deputy administrator. The things the agency does not do well are things like direct lending, voter registration efforts, and picking winners and losers. That should not be the focus of the agency when it comes to its programs and policies, but rather ensuring that all of those 4 core missions that I described are available and accessible to all Americans.
So on the final point of the things that it doesn't do well, is it required to do that in statute anywhere?
Senator, I actually have been reading the Small Business Act at night because I haven't been able to sleep in advance of this hearing. I can't find that. I do think there are programs in the government contracting area that work with socially disadvantaged, but that's a separate thing from what we historically are now referred to as DEI programs. I am not aware of that.
Okay. So I would assume then with the administrator's support that you will no longer be doing those things that the agency in the past has been doing but has no statutory responsibility to accomplish.
Senator, if I'm confirmed, I will follow the law and focus on the core agency missions of access to capital, contracting, counseling, and disaster response.
Okay, great. Mr. Mulligan, do you have thoughts on any of those questions?
Thank you for your question. The Advocacy office is a fairly small office, about 50 people, has a fairly tight range of responsibilities that Congress assigns to it. And as far as I can tell, they've been executing those responsibilities and not going outside those boundaries.
Great, thank you. Mr. Briggs, just another thought. Part of my previous responsibilities before becoming a U.S. Senator, I was very involved in economic development and supporting entrepreneurs through venture funds and IP, securing IP and things like that for entrepreneurial ventures. I've rarely bumped into an entrepreneur who's told me that they need the government involvement in much of what they do. They normally talk about the things that government does that are in conflict with what entrepreneurs want to do. And so in your experience with small businesses and entrepreneurs, what are the things that they most note about the fact, because you're a government agency designed to help businesses, yet most businesses will complain about government standing in its way. What are some of the things that you've encountered that businesses most commonly tell you, particularly small businesses, that are problematic for them?
Senator, over the last 4 years, I've worked and counseled everything from venture-backed startups to what we would call mom-and-pop shops. And almost across the board, they're not aware of the breadth and depth of regulations that they have to follow that they had no idea about. And especially with venture-backed businesses, particularly in the financial technology arena, the amount of regulation just to get to a minimum viable product is unprecedented, and they just don't even understand sometimes what to do, regardless of the great resources that SBA can provide, including counseling or access to capital.
So one of the things I think this committee would find of value is that as you're out there with counselors and capital and talking with small businesses, if you could compile a list for us of the kinds of common concerns that businesses are identifying, that they could use relief. That actually, we don't need government money, we don't need government help, we need government relief. Relief from those regulations, relief from the things that get in their way. And I think one of the things would be very valuable, at least I would think it would be of value to me, is for SBA to identify those things that are commonly discussed by the businesses that you're trying to help as impediments to their success. So instead of all the things that government can do for people, how about the things that government can stop doing to them that stand in the way for their success? And would you commit to working to accomplish that?
Senator, I will commit to working with that, particularly with SBA's Office of the Ombudsman.
Great. Thank you. Now I would like to recognize Senator Cantwell for 5 minutes.